Coming up on this week's FAS TV, we are down in the Scottish borders near Duns at Rulesmains Farm, Scotch Beef Farm of the Year 2023. We hear from speakers at the QMS Net Zero Beef Open Day on how breeding, nutrition and animal health all have a role to play in the net zero journey on Scottish beef farms.
This is Rulesmains Farm. We've farmed here since 1968. My father bought the farm in 1968. We dairied until 2007. We farm in partnership with my wife and my daughter Emma. Cereals is probably the main enterprise in the farm. We run 145 suckler cows. Hence, we're here today for the QMS Beef Farm of the Year. The cows are split between mostly pedigree Aberdeen Angus. We run 30 commercial cows as well, and we also, my daughter has a handful of pedigree, Hereford pedigree cows as well. The main enterprises in the cereals is probably wheat. We grow about 400 acres of wheat and 300 acres of spring barley, 130 acres of winter barley, oilseed rape about 140 acres of oilseed rape, and winter oats about 125 acres of winter oats. We do vine and peas and potatoes as well, let out for growing. The whole objective of the farm is obviously to make profit, and to make a profit as most efficiently as we can, so we're in a positive in the bottom line is the main goal.
So I'm Bruce McConaughey, I'm the Head of Industry Development for Quality Meat Scotland. We sort of lead on research and development and innovation at the farm level. So we're at Rulesmains today to talk about our journey towards net zero as an industry, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about particularly with Rulesmains, as they're a really well run business, a really well organised business, is how efficiencies on farm can lead us closer and quicker towards net zero, and it's in everybody's best interest for profitability, productivity and sustainability. The one message that I'd like everyone to go away with today would be that getting to net zero doesn't involve reducing our productivity and reducing our profitability. In fact, the closer we are to net zero, the more efficient we are as businesses, the more efficient we are as an industry, and the more profitable we are. So being green is a good thing for business.
Well, the whole day is about delivering net zero, and as an animal nutritionist, I have that topic to discuss in 15 minutes. So I'll be covering really more about Rulesmains and what the Hodge family are achieving here, because it's such a huge topic. I think that very often net zero is a topic that is seen as a threat by a lot of people in our industry. But if we flip that and think about it as an opportunity, clearly we as an industry have to play our part. And I think that there's a great opportunity for us to show how responsible we are and actually making that relevant to farmers. It's all about efficiency and financial sustainability, as well as the environmental sustainability that we're being tasked to deliver. Animal feed has a large part. It's one of the large costs in any livestock enterprise. If you look at the inputs, it's a significant cost. So any efficiencies we can drive through will be a benefit. And again, I repeat, both in terms of financial benefit to the farm. Farmers don't want waste. So that financial incentive is there, and we can really change the language and talk about that efficiency also driving environmental benefits. So it's really two sides of that same coin, and the message I'm going to try and get across is let's try and embrace this and look at this as a real opportunity to showcase what our industry can do. Yeah, it's such a huge topic to deal with. It can sometimes feel daunting, so a really key starting point is just looking at performance on waste. And if we look at it from that point of view, I think that's where we can win. Carbon audit has been really useful at maybe identifying where the bogeys are or where there are areas that you can address. At Rulesmains, they have actually quite a high input in a sense, but it's homegrown forage, so they're managing that input. But the real win here is the output. They're a very productive farm, and that's the win. So they're making a lot from their homegrown forage, and daily live weight gains of 1.7. Bulls are finished at 14 and a half months at 400 kilos dead weight. And those are really key performance indicators that help drive productivity, but they also drive efficiency. And that's a benefit, again, financially and environmentally. One of my slides today is going to deal with feed additives, and that's something that our industry in the nutrition world, we're really trying to find tools that can help. So over and above the production efficiencies, there are some tools that we can help work alongside and partner with farmers to deliver incremental changes. We're just celebrating the Olympics at the moment, and sometimes it's the big wins, but it's the little changes that you can implement and that constant improvement, and that's really what will drive success in the long term. Speak to your partners. There's people out there to support you, whether that's trusted advisors are really important, and here at Rulesmains, we work along with the Hodge family. I work very closely with Ian Watson from Performance Feeds, and they're a really trusted partner on this farm, and I think that Andrew has paid tribute to the fact that his vet, his nutritionist, he has a group of people that surround him who are really interested in his business doing well. And those trusted advisors can then help drive those changes and positive impacts on his business, which is good financially, it's good for the economic sustainability, and it also helps achieve that environmental target that we have to drive for as well.
Been asked down to speak about livestock health and greenhouse gases. We hear a lot about methane, and livestock get a bit of a bad press, and they're very much in the firing line. But there's a lot we can do to improve the greenhouse gas carbon footprint of livestock by improving their health, and that's a real win-win, and it's something we can do now, and it's something that actually will help to optimise the other things that you might hear about today, like feed additives and breeding for lower emissions. So as I say, it's something we can do now. It's something the government are keen to incentivise and help farmers, so that there are now animal health and welfare payments within the Preparing for Sustainable Farming scheme. So this is something, that's what I'll be talking about today, really trying to provide or show some of the evidence that we have that improving animal health is a good thing to reduce carbon footprint of livestock farming. Yeah, just that this is something we can do now, and it's a win-win, and it's something, as I say, there will be incentives and some payments to help with. So it's part of a good farm business and sustainable farm business, while we bring in other measures to reduce emissions, as I say, from nutrition and breeding, which might take a bit longer, but we'll get there. But health's a really important platform for that. So it's about optimising animal health, and there's all sorts of good reasons to do that. Some of the main parasitic diseases are a real drain on efficient production. Things like gastrointestinal worms, or parasitic gastroenteritis, the disease that they cause. It really affects animals very directly, and how much they eat and their appetite and how well they convert their food. So that's something we can do a lot better, I think, in terms of monitoring when animals have a worm burden and actually doing something about that, being able to optimise treatments, time the treatments, only treat those that you need to. And there's all sorts of good reasons to do that as well. But things like worms and fluke and sheep scab, some of the iceberg diseases, these are things that have been picked up by some of the groups that have been sitting trying to work through these different conditions, and these are things that the government are prepared to fund, and that's a step in the right direction for me. So yeah, it'll be some of the things, the endemic diseases that we have. There are other, it's quite difficult as different pathogens affect animals in different ways, but the sort of low-hanging fruit, the easy wins would be things like worms and fluke and scab and iceberg diseases, and that's why we're targeting those for now, while we work away at things like BVD and other things that are more intractable. It's great to hear farmers are starting to look at testing before they treat, and I would applaud people who are doing that, and ask them, encourage them to keep doing that, because it really helps optimise treatments. You don't treat if you don't need to, use the right product, prove that it works. Saves all sorts of, it saves money, saves time, saves labour, reduces selection for resistance. There's all sorts of reasons to do that. So I'm very happy that people are starting on that journey, and keep on that journey, and once that becomes a routine part of your business, then you can start to look at some of the other things that might be causing waste and inefficiency on your farm. Yeah, one message I would like to leave farmers with is that animal health is a key part of this whole discussion around net zero. It's all about efficient livestock farming, and poor health is a drain, a constraint on efficient livestock production. So anything we can do to get on top of that and improve efficiencies and reduce emissions is a good news story for me.
So my topic today at the QMS Net Zero meeting was around breeding objectives and how to breed towards net zero and selecting the cow of the future. Really what I'd like the folk who are here today to go away with, and anyone else looking at this to think about, is such a huge amount of data sitting on farm as it is, and it's getting into that data and understanding that the herd that's there for a start, and then starting to identify where exactly as a herd you want to go, and then selecting the animals that will get you there, and also deselecting the animals that won't get you there. It's a really important thing to realise that there are animals that should be in the herd and animals that shouldn't be in the herd. Yeah, so if I was looking at somebody's net zero journey and trying to point them in the right direction, or point them in the direction I think would be most suitable to move forward with, I think the first part is the very easy one of calving at 2, and at the end of the day, realistically, ideally every heifer should calve on her second birthday and then calve every birthday after that. That way you've got a good tight calving interval and you're getting the most kind of productive lifespan out of the cow. And the other part on that from a cow perspective is ensuring that the calf's live, that she's actually rearing a live calf, and then looking at that calf weight versus the cow weight as a weaning percentage at 210 days and working that through and looking for the most efficient animals within the herd. So you're calving as early as possible in life. You're then bringing those efficient animals through, and both, again, selecting the animals that are performing well and also taking the animals that are not performing so well for you out of your herd. For someone already well down the journey, I think the real important thing is, as I said in my talk, is when you think about the average age of a cow in the country today, and when the breeding decision was made to actually put that cow into the herd, the decision is somewhere about a 10-year-old decision for the average cow. So it's a really long-term game. So I think really what I'd say for somebody who's a long way down the road is actually just checking for a minute to see that you are actually going in the right direction. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but there's a great stat about if you're 1 degree off leaving Edinburgh Airport, by the time you don't actually get to New York, you land somewhere about 100 miles away from New York. And so if you're setting off on a journey, a 10-year journey with that cow, and you've got it 1 degree off, you're a long way off by the time you actually get the 10-year deadline. So I think it's not just setting a goal and going, it's also actually checking to see that you are getting towards where you think you're getting to. I think the one key message I'd like farmers to take away from today is you get what you select for. If you select for cows that are going to calve at 2, you'll get cows that calve at 2. If you select for cows that will calve at 3, you'll get cows that calve at 3. Likewise, if you select for animals that don't leave you a calf at all, you'll have a herd full of animals that don't leave you a calf at all. So, you get what you select for, and that is both by choosing the genetics you want to keep and also by choosing the genetics you want to take out of the system.